Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm George Conley with Scratch Golf Tips. Today we're talking about swing changes. Now, I know that a lot of people love the idea of changing their swing. Not everyone has the perfect golf swing. Whether it's a small change or a fairly large change, swing changes are never easy. The first aspect of the swing change that can be difficult is actually knowing what you want to change. Some people hit a slice, but they don't understand exactly why that slice is being caused. This video isn't necessarily on the diagnosis process, but rather after you diagnose the issue, here is how you should go about properly implementing that swing change with targeted practice. So the first thing that you see me doing here is putting up what is called a visual aid or a physical barrier. Now for me, what I'm working on in this video for context is I'm working on being a little bit more shallow with my driver. And when I say shallow, I mean that I want to have that club come through the ball a little bit more in to out, rather than out to in and cutting across the ball, which leads to a slice for me off the tee. So what this physical barrier is doing is it's making me a little bit conscious of coming across the ball. If I were to really have a pretty prominent out to in path, I may hit that physical barrier. Now this particular barrier isn't too close to the ball, so it's not that difficult for me to miss it. I probably still could come across the ball and miss it, but it's more the visual aspect of seeing this right in my eyesight that's really going to kind of mentally put me in a state of wanting to be a little bit more shallow. So once that physical barrier is in place, the number one thing that a lot of people will do when working on a swing change is they'll go right to a full swing, a full speed, full swing, and that really isn't the way to go about a swing change. If you've been swinging a club thousands of times at full swing, full throttle, you can't just automatically undo all that muscle memory and work away from it. So what I'm going to be working on is not only much slower golf swings in terms of my tempo and rhythm, I'm also going to be really shortening them. So as you can see through these rehearsals here, I'm only going about halfway up my body and I'm going super slow. And then once you can kind of work your way through those and, maybe work on it for 10 minutes, for some people it's going to be 20. It depends on the severity of the swing change, really. But once you can work your way through short and slow, lengthen it up a little bit. I'm not saying go from hip height all the way to a full swing. Lengthen it up a little bit, but keep the speed nice and slow. And then once you can build all the way up to that full swing, no matter how confident you are, still take it slow. Rehearse a full swing at a very slow pace, really exaggerating what's going on with your swing change. Exaggeration of your swing feel, exaggeration of what you want that swing change to look like is going to be super important because you may be feeling a slight change, but in reality, the feel versus the real is going to be entirely different. For instance, when I was really coming across the ball 8 degrees when I wanted to be about -2, and then I started working on being more shallow, I felt so much more shallow, but I was only coming across the ball a little bit less to about 7 degrees. So in reality, I felt like I was making a pretty solid change, but statistically not much was changing. So then I really started to exaggerate it, and then I got it back to a 0 or a -1, even though it felt like I was absolutely snap hooking the ball. But in reality, that's just what happens. You have to undo something bad with something almost equally bad on the other side just to kind of find that happy medium after a while. The issue with that is it's tedious, it can be annoying. Swing changes often make you a worse golfer before they make you a better golfer. You just have to understand that's part of the game and you're working towards being a better golfer long term. So after rehearsing that shallowing move and really feeling comfortable with my move through transition, I have the physical blocker, I've worked on this swing feel quite a bit, I'm going to start hitting balls now. And when I say hitting balls, especially with driver, I am not talking about hitting 280-yard full swing drives. I'm talking about teeing the ball up maybe a little bit higher just to give myself a better visual, taking the club up super slow to right around hip height. I'm going to rehearse before I even do that, and then I'm going to hit a ball. And at this point, no matter what the golf ball does, I do not care. I'm just focused on my process. I'm focused on my swing feels. In full transparency, when I was working on this video, and you'll probably see a couple of the shots, I almost missed the ball a few times. And that's because this move is so uncomfortable for me. I've always been pretty steep, especially with driver. I've worked on shallowing out my irons, and that was not easy, but it's certainly been much more difficult to shallow out the driver just because of the nature of the club for me. So I hit a lot of bad shots. I hit plenty of shots that don't draw. They just kind of push out to the right, and that is totally fine. It's very important not to be result-oriented at this stage in implementing a swing change. Then after a couple of swings that are slower from hip height, I'm going to gradually increase to right a little bit lower than shoulder height and a little bit quicker, but still not very quick at all. As you see there, you can hit some bad balls, and it's totally fine. Just focus on maintaining what your swing change is in your head. It's very important throughout this process that you're focused on, okay, this is what I'm working on. 10 minutes later, remind yourself, this is what I'm working on. I want to be more shallow. Then when you get up to that full swing, I want to be more shallow. How do I do that? And after hitting a couple of shots, I've always found it important to step away and spend a little bit more time not hitting any balls at all. Work on those slow swings again, because after you hit golf balls, it's often that you'll return to what you're working against. So maybe hit a couple and then step back for a minute or two. Don't even think about a golf ball, work on that feel. Hit 3 or 4 balls, work on the feel, etc. Then slowly but surely you can kind of work your way up to a full swing, and it's very important that once you get to that full swing, you're not swinging at full speed. You're really going super slow through that full swing, and then just gradually build. Always take your time with these things. Understand that frustration and hitting bad shots is just a part of the game. I wish it wasn't so, but you're going to start to see gradual improvement. And I will say that there are going to be times on the driving range when you work for an hour and you feel like nothing has really been accomplished. I know that for me, when I first started doing this, as a little anecdote, I was trying to hit a draw with my irons, and I worked on it for a couple of weeks, going to the range 2 or 3 times a week, working for at least an hour, and I just couldn't really consistently do it. But then I took about a week off. I didn't really practice or play any golf, and then I got back to the range, and it pretty much came naturally. It was just there. That draw just showed up, and it's a great feeling when all that hard work pays off. I know that personally, in my game, it certainly paid off in a big way for my ball striking and lowering my score. So throughout the process, mental frustration and being mentally fatigued as well as physically fatigued, it's entirely normal. You just need to understand that it's part of the game. And as long as you're patient with yourself and you're patient with your golf game, keep reminding yourself that this is for the better of your game long term. You're not making swing changes to be better that day. You're working on it long term, and in the end of it all, you're certainly going to be a better golfer as a result of it. Let me know what swing change you're working on in your own motion right now. I'd love to see some comments, and if I can provide any helpful insights on your comments, I will be happy to do so. As always, I thank you all very much for watching these videos and showing support on the YouTube channel. If you want a video swing analysis from me, as well as exclusive content on our Instagram, you can actually subscribe to the Scratch Golf Tips YouTube channel. It's $10 a month, and you're going to get access to longer form posts on Instagram on a weekly basis, and you also get a video swing analysis every month from me. Just DM me your golf swing, and if you're a subscriber, I'll get back to you within 24 hours with a list of what you should be doing in your golf swing. Our Instagram page is at the top link of the description. Just click on that, go to the right side of the screen, you'll see a subscribe button, and you'll be all set to go. Thank you all very much for watching. Play well, and take care.